Good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening, Chocolate Crown. Give me a moment, please. All right, how are we doing? It is Sunday night. It is our normal Chocolate Crown episode where we dive in, jump in, and come into your living room on a Sunday evening to have a conversation around a variety of different things, but we often start with just checking in with you and seeing how it is that you are doing. How you doing, Miss Payne? Thanks for checking in and being with us this evening. And as usual, there's usually a king and a queen, and we will see if the king is able to jump in. But for the moment, we are going to rock this conversation out and see what it to make it do what it do. And this week we were having a conversation with someone around building the community and using natural individuals to a community around just employment that's coming to some of the corridors here in Philadelphia. And instead of going outside of the community to employ, building individuals up in the community, like workforce development and being able to like naturally prepare workforce development for individuals who may have skills that they can contribute to the community but be able to work in a different capacity. And their age group may be seasoned adult, maybe young adult, like in their early 20s, but maybe all the way through seasoned adult of maybe, say, I don't know, I don't want to give a number and somebody be like, I'm not seasoned adult, but 55 or so. But they've been in their community, contributed at the rec centers, the community corner stores, different agencies and stuff like that. And, just being able to work. However, it's been under the table, or their skills just haven't really been recognized as something that's beneficial to the company. And as we were speaking with this individual who is planning to grant us a contract, we learned, well, I kept hearing this individual use this word about the forgotten middle. And what I kept, like, as he kept saying the word forgotten middle, like it stood out to me. And I was like, okay, I need to learn more about this whole forgotten middle. And I understood it in the context of the conversation. And as I began to gain more insight in regards to the context, hey, Camp, of the context of the word forgotten middle, it began to resonate with how it is that we build this conversation around kings and queens, what the content that we've talked about. Last week we celebrated the 20 episodes of building up the community and talking about different stuff. And of course, I found a TED Talks conversation that really like peeled back the layers and made the forgotten middle definition really, really clear. And I can share that. It was like a quick 12-minute uh, 12-minute video. I could definitely share that in the comments later. And it's pretty much the forgotten middle can be within your household. And it can also be like this community I'm telling you about of people who have these non-natural skills or natural trades or contributions that they do in the community and don't really know how to promote themselves to gain the qualifications or gain the certificates or gain the ability to like really use these non-natural or natural skills that they have to gain employment and be self-sufficient outside of maybe some supportive system that has, provided financial ability to them in some particular way. And because they're not making any noise in the community, or they're a family member that's not really making any noise and being disruptive, we pretty much become complacent with their ability to just not be disruptive to the entire process. And by the fact that they're not disruptive and they're not causing us any stress, um, we become complacent with just accepting what it is that they offer and not really giving them much acknowledgement for what it is that they offer and accepting it for just as it is. And if we're in a school setting or like we're in a workplace setting, they're like the glue of making sure that the stress of the company, of the team, is not imbalanced. And because they make sure it is not imbalanced, we don't think to acknowledge them, or we don't think to say, job well done, or I appreciate you. And they go unnoticed. Yet everything that they do to make the event happen, or to make the project successful, or to make family dinner work, or to make the grocery list like happen, like all these what we look at as non-essential gifts to making the glue and everything like work, we think of it as non-important. When if they didn't do that and they didn't have that contributing, factor, we look at it as invisible. But if it didn't happen, then what we needed wouldn't have happened. And we would have been out of sorts and probably disorganized to a certain and large degree. But if we acknowledge this set of individuals and not having them as the forgotten middle, and give them apprenticeship and scholarship and love and nurturing, and be able to acknowledge their what we have seen as small contributions or invisible contributions, then we end up nurturing their mind, body, and spirit, and being able to encourage them that what they interrogate and what they bring to the table and what it is that they offer to it be a team, to the family, to the situations in the community, are valuable. They're valuable. They have a voice that contributes to everything being valuable. And that their situations, be it career or school, we change the narrative as far as not telling them that going to school or going to college being an option, but we encourage them and say, well, what school are you going to? And not saying that, okay, if it doesn't look right on paper, as far as their GPA or their scores, giving them the access to the resources that's going to build their resume for making sure that they have what it's going to take. So like in this program that we were meeting with earlier this week, we're doing just that, like in the community, and providing individuals with the workforce, work ready, soft skills that people aren't paying attention to, this forgotten middle, and giving them the opportunity, the things that they've been naturally doing in their community, giving them that workforce development in a non-natural state, but giving them the certificate of knowing what their capabilities are, and using the word leadership in the essence of what it is, knowing their employer and knowing their voice, knowing their employer and knowing their skill, knowing their community and knowing what gifts and what strengths that they have for their community, and not becoming complacent that someone has deposited in them that they will only always be the neighborhood maintenance person, or the neighborhood cleanup person, or the neighborhood I don't know. I don't want to keep saying Mr. Fix-Its or whatever, but like it's so many things that people do around the way that they don't get credit for, but yet they're the first person that we pick up the phone to pick up and call. And we do that in a nonchalant way and don't give credit to the fact that they have, in a non-essential way, gifted us with a skill that is non-natural, that if they didn't have it, we wouldn't be able to move forward in a way that makes it that our situation and our stress level is able to be decreased in a certain way. And so it's like having those intentions of recognizing that these non essential or non traditional ways in which people excel looks very, very different. And the fact that they look very, very different is not that we need to forget them because they don't have the title that social standards or social community actually says is what is acceptable, but accepting the fact that everybody has a voice, everybody has a contribution. And although it may be something that we overlook, we walk by, there may not be dressed the way in which we think is approvable or acceptable, or that we want to identify them as reasonable or acceptable. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. And at the end of the day, us being human beings, we're all contribute to how the world works and the network of how it is that we work in a respectable way. So, in us doing such, it's like that's a part of the balance and how it is that, thinking about the forgotten middle, or the person who is invisible in your family, or the person who's invisible in your work team that, never really, makes a whole bunch of noise or shakes the room or shakes the Zoom meeting or, causes conflict, but yet they get the job done every single time. You know that they're going to be the ones that comes through in the clinch. If you called them at 9 o'clock for the 9:30 meeting, that you don't have whatever it is, you know that they're going to get it to you in 10 to 15 minutes. That person is the invisible, forgotten middle. Do you go back, or in that moment, do you acknowledge and praise and give acknowledgement and courtesy to the gift that that person always comes in the clinch? Or do you say, I'll just wait till the next time that it's a clinch, and I'll just go right back to that same individual, and I know that they'll continue to do it. And they probably will, because you've put them in an assigned role and assigned them to always be that. But do you ever identify that they could be more? Have you ever considered that they may want to be more, but just don't know how? And they just need somebody to hold their hand, or to identify in what way, or what skills, or what training program, or what apprenticeship, or what opportunities and grants that they need somebody to walk side by side with them on? Sometimes it's just a matter of they're intimidated by the process. And so, because they're intimidated by the process, and they may experience anxiety, they may experience all different types of things that cause them to just stay complacent and in that isolated, quiet type standpoint, it causes them to say, I'm just going to stay here. Versus if they had that cheerleader and they had that individual that says, no one is going to be left behind. We're not going to have any invisible team members. We are going to be able to recognize every individual, even if they are in their apprentice standpoint, and raise them up and raise their voices in every situation, career, personal, family, community, whatever, and give them that extra stretch of a hug, and not have them as a forgotten middle, and not have them as the invisible individual, to say, what is it? How can I be of service to you? And not necessarily have to stretch it to the mark of that there is a cost involved, because sometimes that might be the barrier. But that you can reach out and say, how is it that I can serve you? What is it that's going to help you to be able to monetize, or to be able to build your skill set into a resource that can be available to other individuals? So what do you guys think about that forgotten middle? Because if it had not been, it is something that I think that is done maybe on a more non-natural everyday conversation for a lot of people, but you don't really technically think about it in a more generalized standpoint, in the sense of how it is that you just naturally deal with individuals. You just say, okay, this is my natural gift, and I'm just going to make sure that I offer it. But there's individuals who you come in contact with on a day-to-day basis in your travels who are overlooked in your family, in your household, in your workspace, in your travels, who are overlooked because they don't fit the script of what someone wants them to look like. And because they don't fit that script, or that how it is that they're supposed to represent themselves, people just assume that they're incapable without even having that conversation to pour into them a different mapping, or a different encouragement level, or a different opportunity to say, okay, how can I build your crown differently? How can I build you up in the sense of changing the narrative, as opposed to just saying, are you going to college? Ask them, what college are you going to? What workforce development program are you going to? As opposed to saying, have you applied? Which ones are you applying to? See the difference? As opposed to, just saying, are you going? Which one have you applied to? Because then that puts more accountability into the hands of, okay, wait, they didn't just say, was I going? Because I could say I'm going and then push it off the table. We could change the conversation and start talking about something else because I answered them and said I was going, and then now the conversation is over. No, if you're more specific and say, which one are you going to? That causes interrogation in a loving and supportive manner to state and be clear on, now I got to do the research. Now I got to share love and I got to give grace to be clear in stating, okay, what program am I going to? What am I actually going to study? What am I actually going to do and build the skills that I already naturally have, and what it is that I have passion to enjoy? And how am I going to make it happen in an effective manner that is going to build me up so that I could be self-sufficient? I can be leader in the capacity of how I define leadership, because leadership is not defined the same way for every individual. So if this is how it is that you naturally work in your community, then how is it that you can build not only yourself, but everybody that you come in contact with? And everybody is not your task, but if you know somebody, then you know somebody that you can refer them to in a manner in which they can be transition over to somebody else that you know can provide them. So like if you are writing a book and you need an editor, you know who could be that person who can be the editor, or you know a program that you can send them to that they can get that supportive skill. If you know somebody who needs to learn how to tie a tie or get a wardrobe that's going to help them be the best representation when they go to that interview, you say, listen, I don't have it, but I know we can make a phone call real quick, or I can send an email. And as soon as I get that answer back, I'll send it right out to you. So it's like being that change agent, that catalyst that helps link them to what's going to help them be a better agent for themselves. So that was the community news or update that came across the table for this week that wanted to just share. And again, I can definitely share the link to the TED Talks that I did, use as a follow-up from when I was interrogating what I had learned from the conversation that had took place from the meeting that I had about a contract of service that was being offered to me. But it was just like, okay, I kept hearing this word forgotten middle. And yes, it definitely applied to this workforce development, soft skills training program for these individuals who range from 25 to 55 years of age in the community, of several corridors here in the Philadelphia area. But it was just like, okay, well, where did that word come from? And of course, in doing the due diligence, it talks about the middle child and the middle child syndrome, or the younger child syndrome. It talks about a whole bunch of different other things. But the thing about it is that they all have the similar thing of somebody having a strength and ability that they're capable of. However, those around being dismissive to the fact that that gift that they bring to the table having value that is valid, and that we become complacent in just knowing that they're in that assigned position, and that we don't want to take them out of that assigned position because then it would cause us to have to do something different. So I'm interested to knowing like what your thoughts are, or what your feedback would be to even hearing that particular part of today's conversation in regards to the just the what has been shared, and how that sets for you and your family, and the things that you may have done or heard in your travels. So I'm gonna grab something to drink while I give you a moment, because I know there is a delay on the comments in case somebody does want to comment. And I do thank you all for joining today. As you can see, our king is unavailable this week, and I'm trying to rock it out on a solo because wanted to stay consistent in our conversation. So I thank you guys for being here with us. So it's the holiday season. And the holiday season usually brings up so much challenge for people in a lot of different ways. And a lot of people would say that the communities are depressed and that they are impacted. And, again, we can bring in this whole forgotten middle concept. But it being forgotten middle, but then it's also, when you think about hey, Daryl, when you forget about when you look at the holiday season, people usually become very, very territorial around how the holiday season is represented, or how people are greeted with the holiday season, and how it is that people greet them, and what it is they say, what it is that they don't say, and the fact that it may be being politically correct. But the reality is, and I'm not sure if anybody is aware of this, but like from November 20th to January 24th, there are 14 different holidays. So if there's 14 different, let me be clear, there's 14 different religious holidays. So if there are 14 different religious holidays that are represented throughout the calendar in which we live by and govern ourselves by, and you don't know how people govern themselves in their home, you're being politically correct by just saying happy holidays. It's not a war on Christmas as that one particular holiday that is among the 14 if you don't say Merry Christmas. Yet most people of melanated nature, not most, but those who represent and celebrate Christmas, want to have a full out war if you don't say Merry Christmas and you say Happy Holidays. So why is that? Why do you want to argue over it being Happy Holidays versus Merry Christmas? Or, like, why do we get so caught up in that? And then you wonder, where is the disparity, or where the challenge comes in when it comes to the community depression. Like, community depression shows up in trying to meet all of these different goals and disparities, and just trying to manage and map different things out that bring out challenge, but then also bring out expectations that may be unrealistic, especially in today's times, when you're trying to live a life that may be beyond the scope of what is reality for you. So, I wanted to pose that question to my co-host. Why is that such a difficult challenge for people to really accept and embrace, when you generalize holiday season versus having to really truly name it being, a specific holiday, or, being politically correct? And then the second part of it being, recognizing how we overextend or over develop expectations around what it is that we do to create opportunity that ends up creating self-sabotage or self-stressful situations where we create opportunities for the community to appear where we are deficient or our glass is feeling half empty versus half full. Hey, Ronnie. And it feels half full or half empty or deficient because we're spending a lot of energy trying to match or compete with other individuals in our community around how it is that we represent our holiday expectations to someone else's or to something else that we may have done in the past. And each year and each season may look differently, and that's okay. But for some reason, if we don't match or make it to what it is that it has been before, or to what we hear our friends do, and we've posted pictures on social media and so forth like that, then the competition becomes stressful and we begin to ask ourselves different questions that create stress. So, just opening up the floor, like to have conversation around why do we self-impose challenges around accepting just the neutrality around what makes us unique, what makes it that we do self-impose expectations that create a level of differentiation or stress that creates the depression, and depression being anxiety, sadness, also, recognizing a grief, of not having family members around this particular time that you once had. Now that's a reality and that's a different, type of conversation. But at the same time, it is a conversation that is important to recognize that you can celebrate your loved ones that may have transitioned in a different way too, that changes your framework of depression from sadness to celebrating. So one of the ways that I know that as a the therapist in me has recently been sharing ways to celebrate holidays or celebrate those loved ones who have transitioned is if you are a person who does well with plants, but then okay, I'm gonna just say that does well with plants, that you can start a plant, get a plant, put a plant in a nice area, have that plant be representation of a loved one or loved ones who have transitioned. Plants are great for your living space where you are. But then name that plant for the loved ones who have transitioned, and then that way their energy space is present with you each day in some particular way. And I'm not saying and not suggesting, so please don't say that Mary May from Butterfly Love is suggesting to have some kind of ceremony. I'm not saying that, but I am saying to bring life to those who have transitioned because they do still live with you in some specific way, although they're not particularly with you during these holidays. You can bring life to them through the plant and caring for the plant and having them just bring life to you as that plant continues to bring life to you in different ways. So as opposed to allowing the community to tell you how it is that you're supposed to celebrate this holiday season, your celebration is not dictated by society. So just as there's 14 different religious holidays throughout this time frame, how it is that you choose to recognize how these next few weeks or these few days are represented to you, you dictate that. So you make a choice, you make a decision in regards to how it is that you activate that. You don't have to become invisible in regards to how it is that you navigate your strength and your gifts and your opportunity of how it is that you love not only on yourself but to those around you. And if something that is just as small and as giving and nurturing as you giving to a plant is something that you can do, then that's something that could be year round. If that's something that is easy for you to do, and I know I've had some conversations with some people who are joining us tonight. If you need some help on with your green thumb, living a little bit differently, just give me a shout out. I'll help you out with that too. But definitely, you could bring life to different ways. And then, just not allowing those things that are important to you and those rituals. Holidays don't have to be rigid. And you create, like, it's not so much you create your own mood swings, but you create what makes you happy. And so the people around you can end up making your mood swings be heavier than they need to be. And so you need to pay attention to how, when the presence of certain things come, how certain things, certain phone calls, certain people, certain days, certain foods, certain exercise, whatever, how that tends to shift your mood and shift your energy in different ways. So it's like you are the navigator, you are the voice, you are the catalyst that helps make whatever it is you need to sustain yourself. You're writing your own story. So as long as you have outside influences writing your story, then you give permission for depression to live. You give the permission for anxiety to live. But when you begin to create the community being one voice, and that one voice being you as your author of your own story, then you begin to navigate the balance that you need in order to create the balance that's needed for your holiday to be successful. So, thoughts, comments, love notes, what you got? What you got? What you got? Let's see. I see one comment here. We don't want you killing no plants. Thank you though. As far as it being a great idea, maybe if I personify my plants, they may live longer because I could kill a plant. One of the things that people do that kill a plant the easiest way, or probably, one thing is that they don't pay attention when they're buying a plant on what specific things that it needs. If it needs a lot of light, if it needs a little bit of light, when they're in the store, because they usually have like a little card in there that tells you what it actually needs. But then the biggest thing is that when you're watering a plant, you should always be watering a plant and just think about like you're nurturing a relationship. It's almost like the dating phase, and you're getting to learn how it is that what it is that your plant needs. But in most cases, most plants need room temperature water. So when you put the water in whatever container from the tap, you don't put it right into the plant. You make sure that it is at room temperature, and that you don't shock the plant. You would shock the plant, you would shock the nerve system, you shock everything with it if in fact you take it and you put it right into the plant. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that you nurture it a little bit, and you allow that water to sit and become room temperature to whatever is living in your house. And then you make sure that the soil is perfected. So yes, we don't want you to kill the plants. We want you to love on the plants, so that you can, especially if you are loving on the plants, for them to represent a season of someone who you once loved. And if that is how you're choosing to represent plants, but plants are also good for someone who has allergies. Plants are also good for someone who is just trying to have oxygen in your home. Plants are also good for, depending on the type of plant, for building your immune system, especially in this time of us trying to keep our immune system healthy with everything going on in the world at this time. So plants have a lot of secondary properties that love on us in a natural way. So if there's multiple places that you can place plants, and not all plants need sun. So, you can, build your life around plants in a lot of ways. Hey, Monique, how are you? And speaking of Monique, she's probably gonna be like, "Oh boy, I shouldn't have said nothing." Um, but it just made me think of something else. So we talked about plants, but if you also have a special place in your home and you enjoy candles, candles is another thing, like just burning candles and having the aroma of candles. And the reason Monique made me think of this is because she is a striving entrepreneur and she makes candles. So if anybody needs candles, she's in South Jersey. She does a whole bunch of other stuff too, but she makes candles. Um, but candles can also be something that if you are trying to balance how it is that you balance your mood, your energy, your love, your spirit, and everything like that, then while you're moving about the house, while you're doing stuff this holiday season, while you are trying to be productive, change the aroma in your house, like change the energy, move it around, have a scent that works for you. And there are certain fragrances that can help fuel your mind and your body and your, your senses and your energy that will help motivate you to do what you need to do. So if you are at a mind block or trying to remove clutter before the end of the year or something like that, sometimes different aromas can really work for you. And so thank you, Monique, for chiming in at that particular time. And definitely, we always shout out on Sundays, Black-owned businesses. So her company is Monique Decor Soy Candles and More. And you can find her again. She is in South Jersey, but I believe she also has a business page to connect with her for that. And if you're trying to buy a home, she can help you with that too. Sorry, just had to Chocolate Crown, that's what we do. We build up kings and queens and we shout out Black-owned businesses. Speaking of which, Daryl, if you're still in the room and still listening, if you could put your information up as well, that'd be helpful for us to get our 6:30 workout with you Monday through Friday, fitness and keeping us healthy. That would be helpful. Her page, I mean, what she has is this, but I can also find her page if she doesn't post it up herself in the comments. Yes, Daryl, please put your information in the comments so I can post you out as well. Because we always, every Sunday for Chocolate Crown, give shouts out to Black-owned businesses. And we do that for free. We don't charge anybody because that's not what we do in Chocolate Crown at this time anyway. And I mean, why would we do that? We have to build our communities up. So her page is Monique Decor Soy Candles. So candles, plants, again, you write your own story. So it's easier said than done. And I know I said it very simply, like it's very easy, it's easier said than done. But depression is real. The holiday season is real. But again, there's 14 different religious holidays between November 20th and January 24th. So when you say holiday season, is not an interrogation or a disrespect to someone who only celebrates Christmas. It's a politically correctness and sensitivity to the fact that there are multiple ways in which people represent themselves during this holiday season. So he goes and brings a whole link. He always so extra. But if you're here in the comments, I'm going to assume that he is on the Mary Butterfly Love Elisa page following this conversation. You will be able to find this link to find him. Daryl Bracewell. He does workouts Monday through Friday at 6:30 p.m. where you can get fit. That is the simple way. So I'm just going to say that this is probably on the Mary Butterfly Love Elisa page that is following this conversation. For those of you who may be following the Chocolate Crown page or something else, I will probably also go through those pages and post the flyer that he has provided to me, just in case you can't get to that page, even though it is a public profile. So, again, he says, come sweat with him. So if you're trying to get fit before 2021 or whatever, please do so. And then also, I don't do resolutions because sometimes when you try to commit to different things, you like, okay, well, how come I wasn't consistent or whatever? And because resolutions, I don't know, they just get tricky. But you could determine intentions. And for those of you who follow me on whatever streams that you follow me on, um, I have started today. We have 12 days left. Um, I have 12 days left. We have 12 days left of 2020. So in the 12 days left, I am going to post each day. What you mean I got so many? I got so many pages. Listen, I'm trying to live my life and make sure I reach all the people who need to be reached. We have 12 days left of 2020. And so because we are going into 2021, that's where the number 21 comes. I want individuals to create affirmations, goals, and next steps that you can implement. So whether you choose to make this like an affirmation jar or you choose to make it in a creative box of things that you do, today's word was to come up with different ways of gratitude. How do you choose to show the different ways that you can demonstrate and share gratitude with someone? So each day in the next 12 days or 11 days remaining, I will post a word that you can create 21 intentions that you will have towards whatever that word is. So I'm glad that you are inspired and that you will have some of them you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, she making us work. But we have to do work in order to write our own story, and so that the holidays do not make us frozen, and that we ensure that our celebration is scripted by what we want it to be, and that our intentions are what we want it to be. Oftentimes, and for many things in our lives, we have allowed other people to I'm gonna say inform us on how it is that we're supposed to be, what it is that we're supposed to say, how we're supposed to show up in certain places and things. And that's not necessarily the expectation on how life is expected to be in all things. So, in that regard, you are the author of your life. And if it's anything else that these past 12 months has shown us is that we should be more of the author of our own life, and that we can take control of it in multiple different ways. And that may not be the easiest thing for a lot of people. However, if you take bite-sized steps of it, it's possible. And to hold yourself accountable with the bite-sized steps. So if 21 intentions is a big step, then break it down to 5. But 21 intentions will make it that you would have enough things that if you did put it into an affirmation jar or into a creative box that you can, make beautiful however you make it beautiful, that you can have all these different ideas and say once the box is full, that you can pull from it each day to get whatever it is that you need for the day to kind of recenter, re-guide, re-script whenever something is shifting your matrix in a different way. So you have to make sure that you stay in control. So it's like the holidays can become unbalanced. They become unbalanced when you allow outside forces to kind of guide you and tell you what it is you're supposed to do. When you have the forgotten middle is because they have become complacent with outside forces just creating the limitations in regards to where it is that they're supposed to be and how it is that they're supposed to exist, and people not identifying or seeing how it is that they can be excellent in their own space. And excellent in their own space is not how you decide is excellent, it's how you stand side by side with an individual and being able to recognize it in a different way. So it's like, what is it that that person needs? And accepting that even if you see more potential in them than what it is that they see, accept where they are and build them up to where it is that you see their potential. Because where they see that they are is where they see their capacity, and build them up to where it is that you know that they can be. So what have you added? Let me see. I won't allow anyone to dictate or control how or what holiday I celebrate. This includes that control consumers' holidays are what you make it. Absolutely. I mean, because as we go into the stores now, we haven't even gotten to um, the holiday identified by Friday. And I'm sure we probably will see the holiday that's represented in February. It'll already be out and about and in the stores for us to begin shopping. And it's like, okay, can I just digest the holiday that we're in right now before you begin shoving down my throat some hearts and candies and stuff like that. So it's like you could create, it's a holiday every day. Every day that you have oxygen in your breath and you're able to get up and celebrate it, that's a holiday. You know, I always tell people that's a national holiday when it's my birthday, which it is, but every day is an actual national holiday. So it's like you celebrate life the way you choose to celebrate. um what holiday is fed? What do you mean, Daryl? You saying camp okay for the birthday being a national holiday? It is a national holiday. Everybody's birthday is a national holiday. Um, so what else we got? What else do we need to cover for balancing this holiday season and making sure that we are well put together as our own personal author, writing our own story, not allowing yes, February. What holidays in February? You know, some people think that the holiday to have all of them hearts, bells, and whistles is a February holiday, and then they blend it into they call it the President's Day, and then it's a whole weekend, and that if you all boot up, that you're supposed to be going away and doing all types of shenanigans and bells and whistles. Come on, Daryl, you know what it is. You know what it is. You know you've been held accountable to that holiday at some point in life. Yes, every day is a holiday. Like every day should be celebrated because, some people don't get to celebrate every day. And just as, like a couple weeks ago, um it's you get programmed to certain things. Like a couple weeks ago, I had intentions, here we go with intentions, I had intentions on calling a certain cousin who we've always celebrated our birthdays 7 days apart, to celebrate and celebrate our birthdays. And she didn't celebrate this year's birthday. And then this Friday, while doing my Friday night sip and chat with my crew that's here in the comments, I got another phone call from Chicago, and I was hesitant to answering and listening to the voicemail because I was like, oh boy, here goes another phone call from my hometown, Chicago. And, it actually was a pleasant phone call, but because 2 weeks earlier it wasn't, my mind was like, okay, I wasn't quite sure. So it's like you got to be mindful of how it is that you think about stuff. Hey, Alexander, how you doing? I gotta say, by politically correct, happy holidays and much love to you. Haven't talked to you in a very long time. It's great to see you stopping by. Um, so how else can we serve balance in the holidays and writing our own story and not allowing, it to be scripted by the world and social pressures and social holidays. And, like I said, we can have the days where the glass is half empty versus half full. And so the half full days are the days that, our energy is high, our energy is great, and we're goal focused. But those half empty days are the days that we need to do a personal check-in with ourselves And if somebody is asking more of us and from us, then we need to say or recognize that when we look and see the phone call come in, or we look at the email and see that the email is asking more, that we need to implement a level of self-care. And that level of self-care is, again, implementing and creating, writing our story and writing a time to say, I can't take on anything else. And I need to create balance by not either responding to the email, not opening the email, not answering that phone call, just pausing. Because if I'm depleted and I know that whatever is going to be called upon me by responding or answering of the call is going to pull from me, and I'm already from a depleted standpoint, I'm not going to be given the opportunity to tap out in the midst of answering that phone call. So if my glass is half empty and I am able to acknowledge that, you have permission, and you have to give yourself grace and permission to recognize that you have permission to pause and not do it and not answer it, and be able to say, okay, I can answer this at a different time. Let me finish what it is that I need to do. The text message, you don't have to answer the text message right away. You don't have to, like, you don't have, it's no have to. It's no have to, it's no should. Correct, Camp. There's boundaries. So if the glass is half full, sure, you could take on the world, do whatever it is you need to do. But even that, you have to recognize when no is a full and complete sentence. So that's how you create the balance. I read an article or a post from someone that was saying how, I guess, someone who practices holidays differently was experiencing the rituals of Christmas for the first time, and how they were representing it or understanding that it's a lot of work in doing the decorations and buying the ornaments and putting up the garland and stuffing the stockings, and all of these rules and everything that goes with it from the perspective of their roommates, because of course they can't travel because of cousin C virus. So reading the article, it was like, okay, wow, there are a lot of rituals connected to this particular day. And at least from the perspective of their roommates, they were giving him a great explanation and experience, and things that they felt that they can now share and implement with the religious practices that they normally have with their family. But it was just like a great perspective to see from someone who has never experienced those rituals, how they see it from the outside. Your Saturday morning sleeping in doesn't exist anymore, how eggnog is so important, how the garland is so important, like just seeing it from the outside. But it's like, if you don't have the capacity, going back to the glass being half full or half empty, you got to realize, okay, I can't do it. I can't make this commitment to this ritual or to this sacrifice and be authentic. So if this is something that is more than what your capacity can take, then it's okay to say no, and be authentically okay with saying no. Like, we're using this in the essence of talking about the holiday season and creating balance and recognizing your capacity of love and grace. But at the same token, we are trying to eliminate the burden of you falling into depression and falling into a sadness space, or falling into a space where you're not able to really acknowledge your loved one in a way in which you appreciate them in the best way possible. So it's like you have the opportunity to engage if possible. So you can, take that and represent it however, it feels best to you. So remember, your glass should also it should always be full as opposed to half empty. And it's not a burden if it's half empty, but the half empty should be your post-it note, your alert, your awareness, your gauge to say, okay, I need to take a nap. I need to take a step back. I need to like whatever it is that you do to kind of reset, like push the reset button, take the pressure of whatever off. Like if it's the pressure of the holiday debt, why do you have holiday debt? Like who told us that we had to have holiday debt? Like, we could rechange that script too, because that comes from somewhere in our generational transition of how family has been developed for us, that creates that this is the season that we're supposed to create all of this unhealthy financial, spending. For what? Like, it's a temporary gain. Like, it's a temporary gain. Are we purchasing and buying financial situations that are going to have lasting effect and lasting, sustainability of what our families need? Or is it all, temporary? So it's like those pressures are self-imposed in regards to how it is that we are buying and building into our families overall. So, is there any other way in which I can serve you all? Any questions or thoughts or comments and loving critiques that you have as we build balance for this year? We got plants, we got candles, we got making sure that we take a step back, recognizing if the glass is half full, half empty. We have building the last 12 days, building 21 intentions. Today's word is gratitude. You have to check in to see what the day's word will be tomorrow. Setting boundaries. What else? What are some other takeaways that we have for today? Daryl says he doesn't know about this February holiday. So yes, if you need to pull away from social media, if you can, and you should be able to pull away from social media. You have that permission to do that, because sometimes it could be draining. And you can also, if there's a theme of social media posts that you don't want to see because it's trauma provoking to you, you could go to the top of those posts and be able to say, hi, this is irrelevant, or, I just don't want to see anything like this. And social media will stop that post from showing up for you. Because what happens is when you look at something for, you want to say 30 seconds, 2 minutes, they begin to think that that's what you want to see. So then they do the social, if you check out Social Dilemma, it's a YouTube video. That's how they target what it is that you're interested in. So they begin to show you more of that, thinking that that's what you want to do. So taking 30-day reflection moments, definitely. Being able to say, okay, what is it? What did I accomplish in this past 30 days? What could I have done differently? Again, that personal accountability and check-in with yourself is everything. Having loyalty to yourself, loyalty to your family, and making sure that loyalty has balance, because sometimes the loyalty that you have, you want to make sure loyalty doesn't turn into resentment. Because sometimes loyalty can turn into resentment, because the reason why loyalty may exist can be an unhealthy boundary. But as long as loyalty is something that is serving to you in a manner in which you choose to live by, then it has an appropriate and a valuable place. So thank you, Melvin, for sharing that. You just make sure that it doesn't transition into something that is that turns into resentment. And again, you write your story. Like, that's the thing that I can't emphasize more. You write your own story. You write your own path. You are the author. And if I can't pour anything else into you more about creating and balancing your holiday season or your any day season, because if it's from an entrepreneur standpoint and you're looking at each quarter, or even from just a life and relationship, and you looking at each quarter of the year, or you looking at each month of the year. Like, you write the script of each day. Like, if you have a business plan for your relationship, you have a business plan for your business. You write what happens and what the intentions are for each part of that. And the accountability is that you may learn some things in that script that you didn't consider to include in the process. But the fact is that because you tried and you didn't say, forget it, I'm not going to try, you begin to learn what you didn't consider that you can now include the next go round. So if you are doing those 30-day reflections, you are able to take notes of what it is that was not considered. And you're able to say, okay, hey, okay, so what I learned about myself was, or what I learned about this person I'm doing business was, or what I gained in trying to work with this particular agency or business partner, or like whatever. You always learn, even if it's a sense that you feel like you failed at something. You wouldn't have failed if you didn't try. So the fact that you failed is a gift, because you tried at something from what information you knew, and from what you knew, you were able to try it, do something, and be like, okay, wait, this puzzle piece doesn't match the way I thought it was going to match. And because it doesn't match, I need to put it in a different way. So in putting it into a different way, I learned X about the situation, or X about me, or X about the project overall. So it's like, okay, what could I do different? What can I learn different? What will happen differently in my next 30-day reflection that is now enhanced because of this particular gain? So you guys got it. You got it. We got to do it together. We're gonna learn it together. Um, it's one day at a time, one conversation at a time, and again, failure has a purpose, and failure is not the end of the world. Failure is that glass being half empty, but it's half empty on purpose, on the fact that you tried something, you did it, you put your toe in the water, you was like, oh, okay, this water a little too hot, or this water a little too cold, let me warm it up a little bit. But you tried it, and now you know what else is needed to season it a little bit better. And now you know what you need to add, what you need to take away, what you need to, maybe be inclusive of, and building the capacity so that it can be stronger. All right. All right, Chocolate Crown. So, thanks for rocking it out with me without my king, Del Rico, of Infinite Mind and Body, who had another situation distract his availability. And so, but thanks for rocking it out for me this Sunday before one of the holidays, or some of the holidays. And I look forward to seeing you all the last Sunday of 2020 at 8 o'clock on Sunday. And we'll see what conversation we can bring together as we pour into you, and continuing to move forward in this conversation, building the village one conversation at a time, and seeing how many intentions that we build up between our 12-day building each other up as we go along. So until then, be safe, stay safe, make sure you build your immune system. And again, thank you all for joining this Sunday. Take care.